Everyone loves watching black people struggle, and clearly Hollywood is obsessed with black drama. But it wasn't always like this. In the 90s, we had a huge wave of black comedies, romances, and everyday stories, and a handful of black sitcoms telling the stories of everyday people, stories of joy, laughter, flaws, and full human lives. Those movies and series had a clear message: black people can be anyone, not just survivors of trauma. And the movies were cool and fun and they were for everyone. So what happened to all that black joy from the 90s? In the late 2010s, the Hollywood enters the period of racial seriousness. Think about it. They had the Obama presidency, they had the rise of Black Lives Matter, Trayvon Martin, Ferguson, and Hollywood responded with a flood of black stories focused almost exclusively on trauma and struggle. Major studios suddenly developed an appetite for black suffering, as if joy, love, laughter are not real black experiences. This era gave us critically acclaimed but emotionally exhausting works. Important stories? Absolutely. But where was the counterbalance? Studios realized there was profit in pain, but we might be witnessing a slow shift. The industry doesn't need more guilt. It needs more vision. We do need stories about struggle, but we also need the stories about everything else, where black characters are just allowed to exist, fall in love, solve mysteries, fight aliens, be ordinary or extraordinary, just as everyone gets to be. Because the true equality in storytelling is not just about who gets to be in a story, but it's about what stories they get to be in.
For 100 years, black people were on the screens, but our humanity as black people were not on the screens. Grand rising kings and queens from Africa and across the ocean, welcome back to my YouTube commentary. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your time and your energy and your spirit right here with me. I am the Kenyan Beast. Now, today I'm going into a story that Hollywood never wanted black people to understand. This is a story bigger than movies, a story bigger than celebrities, and a story bigger than fame. It's our power, okay? It's about about manipulation, and it's about power. And it's about how one of the most influential industries on earth systematically shaped the global image of black people while shutting black people out of the very thing they created. This is how Hollywood screwed black people from the beginning to right now.
Now, as far as black folk are concerned in the Hollywood industry, it started off in the late 1960s. So what are we going to do, they said, about bringing in cash flow? Well, let's go to a group of neglected viewers who are anxious to see themselves. Black folk. Well, let's not get one of those Sidney Poitier movies or such that we had where they were talking about principle. Let's go to the lowest common denominator. Let's talk about drug dealers, pimps, hoes, and all that other kind of stuff and get the most cash flow. So the first time we saw this was Fred the Hammer Williams in Black Caesar, where the hero was a contract killer and a drug kingpin, and he prospered, and he drove off in a limo smoking a big cigar as the sun rose after a shootout in a Long Beach warehouse with dead folk all over the place and no LAPD coming along. Everybody said, what is this? Wait a minute. We're talking about drug dealing being an anathema for the black community, and the Panther Party, Black Student Alliance, and all of these community organizations are trying to get drugs the hell out and resist the attempt to have an influx of heavy drug. What is this? And then 18 months later, they come up with Superfly. Term comes back in, Superfly nonsense, pimp mobiles. Yeah, man, we're going to have to move some of that coke, man. That's deep, man.
What about these slavery movies, though? Why do you think
the slavery movies are part of getting you conditioned to being emotional and get you to go, woe is me, we've been done so wrong. So when you start talking about
victim talk, then?
Yeah.
All right.
So when you start talking about, oh, woe is me, I've been done wrong, they present it to you as an excuse rather than as a motivation to get angry enough to do something. And I think about what I read when I studied what they call the slave pamphlets that are on microfilm or were in the Library of Congress. And it was get the slave to think in terms of his enslavement. So his culture teaches him that those things that we need him to be, that we need him to think like, are appropriate. In other words, get him thinking like a slave. Make sure he thinks he's dependent. Make sure he thinks he has to ask. Make sure he thinks that he should be grateful.
Do you think Hollywood is racist?
Yes.
Yes?
Well, what else is new?
Well, do you think they're racist because they're only concerned about the bottom line? Or they just don't like black people?
What they say is our movies do not sell overseas, but they don't promote our movies overseas. So how you gonna sell something that you don't promote?
Yeah.
So we have to break down more barriers.
Yeah.
But you know, in Hollywood too is a propaganda machine.
Mm-hmm.
It's not only, you know, just worrying about dollars and cents.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's worrying about ideas, images.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you got to say that there is inherent racism somewhere in there because of the opportunities that we don't get.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the way we've been portrayed throughout the history of cinema.
Dear Hollywood, you think films depicting Black oppression is art? I call bullshit. Well, if it's art, why not make more films depicting white oppression, like White Men's Burden? Yeah, I know. 2 wrongs don't make a right. But since a picture's worth 1,000 words, don't you think that'll go a long way to break down the false narrative of white supremacy? Because the truth is, the combined total of people of color globally are in the majority, not the minority. And when art imitates life, well now. The bottom line is bigotry, prejudice, and racism is an irrational class system to perpetuate division. See, the truth is, our world is not divided by race, color, gender, or religion. Our world is actually divided by wise people and fools. And fools divide themselves by race, color, gender, religion. So enough already with the Black oppression and the slavery films bullshit. I said what I said.
Because I believe Hollywood sends subliminal messages to us to make sure that we still are slaves, that we still come from that. Because those are the most movies that get greenlit in Hollywood. If you look over the history of movies, it's either gang violence movies or slave movies that get greenlit the most. When they do those movies, I think that we all go see it and we all walk out that mug mad.
Spells from Hollywood are just starting to manifest. They've done as much damage as they could to the men. Now they're glorifying the evil woman. I mean, we could take it as far back as Players Club with Lisa Ray, who played as Diamond, and we know what generation that kicked off, right? But what about your biggest TV hit series such as Empire or Power? All the evil women were black, or played as the spouse of the evil kingpins playing to get rich, right? These are our women's role models. This is how you cast spells demographically. Taraji, who played Cookie. Notori played Tasha. Giving our women evil ways. And not to shoot no strays, but we can't just blame today's females rappers. Such as Sexy or Glow or whoever. The rest of them that's out there. Because where did they learn this from is the question. But all of these black females who have taken on these roles in entertainment have not only sold themselves out, but you as well. Because they're casting spirits into you. They only care about the money. Like I said in my other video, their hearts have darkened and they've turned a blind eye to the damage that they're doing to their own society and the influence that they're pushing out on those who are watching or listening to their media. Hollywood has degraded our women severely with hellbound spirits. But if you hear me in this video, now is the time to repent. Not tomorrow, not next week, not next month. Right now is the time to soften your heart. Let God inside and repent of your evil ways, because even a thought that is evil is sinful. Alright, I hope somebody heard this. You have a blessed one.
Do you ever wonder why it feels like all the shows Hollywood makes for black people are so basic? That's on purpose. A few years ago, I sold my first TV series to BET, and they even told the press that they were making 8 episodes of my show. But when we got into the development on my show, they told me it was too complex. They told me to make it more simple. They said we need simpler characters, simpler dialogue, simpler plot lines, simple, simple, simple. I wanted to keep the show complex. I thought we deserved complex storytelling. No. A couple months later, an executive pulled me aside and said, listen, kid, at this network, we make shows for single moms at home making dinner for their kids. They need to be able to follow your show without really paying attention. In other words, make it dumber. I couldn't do that. So a month later, I got a call from my agent. She said, BET's pulling out. They're not going to make your show. I was heartbroken, but I learned an important lesson. Why would a company called Black Entertainment Television want to serve their own people undercooked nothing burgers? The answer is that the Black in BET is just a storefront. BET's owned by Paramount Global. And who runs Paramount Global? You know who.
So this is the casting for Children of Blood and Bone. And the story that this biracial woman is playing, that she always playing a black woman's story. That's always the one that's taking me. The character she plays deals with colorism and things that only a monoracial Nigerian woman, in this case, but black woman, will understand. How she get the role? It's the same thing with The Hate U Give. Why are we casting this biracial woman for a black woman's role? I do not understand. But biracial women do not represent black women, and they should not be telling fully monoracial black woman stories. Period. They are sacrificing the integrity of the original character that she's playing. They're sacrificing the things that she went through in order to be able to let her be light-skinned and mixed. So y'all gonna take out such important parts of her story, such important parts of her character development, all because you want to cast somebody biracial. Because she ain't that good of an actor. I'm sorry, she's not. There are so many fully black, African, whatever actors that could have played this role way better, who would have actually fit the characteristics of the character. I am not understanding. When we talk about these beautiful stories, if the original story was Nigerian people and Nigerian women and the colors they wear were dark or brown or whatever the case is, let's leave them that way. Y'all always manage to leave the men that way, but when it comes to the women, y'all always trying to lighten them up.
The first major African film did not just reflect racism, but they promoted it. They weren't passive, they were propaganda weapons. Take one of Hollywood's earliest and the most influential creations, minstrel shows. Long before movies, cameras existed, white performers painted their faces black. White performers exaggerated their lips. White performers acted dumb, danced foolishly, and created every harmful stereotype still used up today. Professor Eric Lott, scholar of a black performance, called minstrelsy the first American entertainment industry, and he described it as the way white America stole black culture while disrespecting black people at the same time. Think about that. The world's biggest entertainment empire was built on mocking black intelligence, was built on stealing black music, was built on exaggerating black features and reducing black life to comedy, and turning black pain into a national joke. So this is the foundation, or that's the foundation. That is the soil Hollywood grew from. And when movies arrived, Hollywood didn't leave that behind. Hollywood supercharged it. Okay? Now, let me talk about The Birth of a Nation, the film that screwed black people for generations. If there's one film every black person should know, not watch, but to understand, it is The Birth of a Nation, which was released in 1915. This movie was not just racist. This movie was a cinematic nuclear bomb dropped on black identity. And here is what Hollywood did with that one film. Okay? It painted black men as violent monsters. Hollywood made black men look like threats, look like criminals, predators, and the same image policing still uses today. Number two, it portrayed black people as unfit for leadership. In the movie, the idea of black people having political power is shown as chaos and disorder. Number three, it made the Ku Klux Klan look heroes. Imagine that. Hollywood took one of the most violent terrorist groups in American history and turned them into saviors. Number four, it shaped white perception of black people for decades. The film was screened in the White House. White crowds filled theaters across America. They left cheering for the KKK. Some historians argue that this movie helped revive the Klan, and this is how serious Hollywood's impact was. And here's the thing, family. Hollywood never apologized. Hollywood never corrected it, never repaired the damage. It just moved on and carried those lies with it into every generation. Okay? Now, let me talk about the early black actors who tried to break through. Hollywood did everything in its power to block them. And in the 1900s, black actors were banned from major studios. When black characters appeared, white actors played them in blackface. And scripts were written to make black people look stupid, lazy, dangerous, or magical. Okay? And black people were rarely allowed to speak lines that made them appear intelligent, powerful, or equal. Now, Professor Donald Borgie, one of the most respected historians on black film, documented this, the 5 stereotypes that Hollywood forced onto black characters. Number 1, the Tom. Number 2, the Coon. The Buck, the Mommy, the tragic mulatto. No one of these respected black humanity. Not one. Hollywood didn't want black actors. It wanted black caricatures. And when black actors did make it in, Hollywood treated them like props, you know. We call them others. Let me tell you, or let me show you our Hollywood hypocrisy, just with one story. Or you remember Hattie McDaniels became the first black person to win an Oscar award in 1940 for her role in Gone with the Wind. It is a huge achievement, right? But Hollywood screwed her too. She had to sit at the segregated table. She had to enter through the back door. She had to play roles that reinforced stereotypes. She had to defend herself against both white racism and criticism from black communities. And after winning the Oscar, Hollywood refused to give her more diverse on serious roles. They wanted her to stay in her place. And even she once said that, I'd rather play a maid for $700 a week than be one for $7. She said that. And that line breaks your heart because she was forced to choose between dignity and survival. That was Hollywood inclusion. Now, from the 1930s to 1960s, Hollywood followed the Hays Code, a list of guidelines for what movies could and could not show. And the code didn't mention black people directly, but trust me, the effect was very clear. The Hays Code restricted black romance. The Hays Code restricted black heroism, black power, black political leadership, black rebellion, and black-white equality. So Hollywood did not allow black characters to appear equal to white characters in any meaningful way. So it is basically like the industry said, we will show black people, but only in ways that make white people comfortable. And this stayed in the rulebook for over 30 years. When black people told their own stories, Hollywood shut them down. There were early black filmmakers, the legends, who tried to create an alternative Hollywood. People like Oscar Michels, Spencer Williams, Madam C.J. Walker Film Production, the Lincoln Motion Pictures. Those pioneers created movies that showed black love, showed black success, showed black intelligence, showed black communities, showed black humanity without apology. But Hollywood blocked their distribution. They limited where the films could be shown and could not be shown. So they starved independent black cinema financially until most companies collapsed. So it wasn't an open market. It was targeted sabotage because Hollywood understood the truth. When black people control their image, then white supremacy loses power. That is the reality. Up to now, it's like that. Now, the 1960s and the 1970s, we call it the black exploitation trap. How? Now, civil rights era, black power movement, black people rising up, white audience demanding change, Hollywood pretending to listen. Then came blaxploitation film. These movies gave black actors more visibility, but at a price. Blaxploitation films. Black people were suddenly gangsters, pimps, hustlers, hypersexual characters, and violent anti-heroes. And Hollywood packaged these stereotypes as representation. But Professor Eddie, and many black historians have shown that blaxploitation films did not empower black people long term, but they just replaced old stereotypes with new ones. So Hollywood was basically saying you can be on screen as long as you stay dangerous, as long as you stay cool, as long as you stay violent. And yet again, Hollywood screwed black people. White directors controlled most of the films. White studios controlled the distributions. White producers controlled profit. The faces were black, but the power remained white. Now, let me talk about the modern era for a little bit. Because people love to say that Hollywood is diverse now. But look at all these black actors winning awards. We have black superheroes. We have black representation. But let's look at the pattern with a calm mind. Hollywood gives black people visibility, but not ownership. Hollywood gives black people roles, but not the power to write their own narrative. Hollywood give or celebrate black success only when it benefits the industry image. And here's the biggest truth. The stereotypes of the 1990s still shape casting today. Just look at the patterns. Black trauma sells, black pain wins awards, black suffering wins Oscars, and black actors still play criminals more than any other group. Dark-skinned actors are often placed in roles of struggle. Black women are over-sexualized or made strong but unloved. Okay? So these are not accidents, these are inherited templates. Hollywood simply took the old stereotypes, updated them, and kept them moving. Now, Hollywood has always loved black music, black dance, black speech, black fashion, black energy, black creativity. But historically, Hollywood wanted all that without black control. It wanted all that without black credit. It wanted all that without black compensation. From jazz to hip-hop, from slang to style, the choreography, to writing. So Hollywood steals the culture, then hires white people to perform it, just like minstrelsy, just a modern version of minstrelsy. And Professor Bell Hooks described this as eating the other, consuming black culture while refusing black equality. Hollywood built an empire on black creativity while refusing black humanity. So there's a global damage that Hollywood caused. And here's the part that most people don't like to talk about. Hollywood didn't just shape American viewers or views of black people, but it shaped global views. For Africa, it shaped global views for Europe, for Asia, for the Caribbean, for the Latin America. Hollywood exported its lies worldwide. Okay? For decades, people outside the US thought that black people were just criminals, servants, clowns, dangers. Because even in Africa, we used to see these movies back then. And it's black people were placed in a position where we all thought it's like that. Okay? We all thought it's like that. And this is why so many African countries grew up thinking whiteness was modern and blackness was primitive. So it wasn't natural. So it was a calculated move. Hollywood became the world teacher, and it taught the world to look down on black people. No industry in modern history has done more damage to black global identity. Not even news media, not even politics. So Hollywood was the most powerful weapon. Now, there is the modern lies. How Hollywood still traps black excellence. Even today, when black actors rise, Hollywood controls how far they can go. Look at the patterns. Black actors who play criminals or suffer get awards, but black actors who played empowerment, educated roles get ignored. Black films that criticize racism get funding, but films that promote global black unity struggle. Black directors who stay within white comfort zone rise, and those who challenge white narrative face backlash. Black women win Oscar awards for pain, rarely for joy or complexity. Why is Hollywood doing this? There's a bigger reason behind this. Hollywood did not screw black people by accident, but there is a reason, very big reason behind every decision. Hollywood understood something early. If you control what people see, then you control what people believe. Okay? And if you control what they believe, then you control how they vote. You control how they police. You control how they treat each other, how they treat you. Okay? And how they treat your children. Hollywood shaped policing, shaped politics, it shaped education, prisons, global perspectives, and national identity. Hollywood was not just entertainment, it was a political tool. A political tool. Professor Stout Hall, the father of cultural studies, explained this perfectly. Representation is the way power circulates in culture, and Hollywood represented black people poorly because that kept the system running. But we have solution how black people can take back the narrative. Now, let's choose with strength. Let's choose calmly, clearly, and powerful. How do we fix 100+ years of manipulation? Not by asking Hollywood to change, not by begging the roles, but how do we fix by doing what our ancestors tried to do from day one? Build our own films, studios. We need modern Oscar mischiefs. We need modern black-owned studios. We need modern distribution networks. We should control our own performance, control our own platforms. We should tell black stories that show life, not stereotypes, that show love, show joy, show complexity, culture, history. We should educate our children about media manipulation so they don't swallow Hollywood lies. We should support black filmmakers financially, promote black global unity, and we should just own our own narrative. That is the only way we can take back our stories. Okay? Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for learning. Thank you for standing by me. I love you all deeply. Hollywood screwed black people, but black people are rising, reclaiming the story, and rewriting everything. I am the Kenyan Beast, and we're just getting started.